Do we want to try to keep a
Okay, it's starting, I think.
recording now? Do we want to keep a time limit? Last time it went over 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
You just go for...
No one will watch 2 hours on YouTube.
Okay.
Longer than a minute.
Is that blank?
No. What just happened? That was the click.
We're in. That's the cue.
Welcome to the Naked Mothership. We are joined today by Janvi Anand and Earl and myself, Dhyan.
I forgot the camera is that side.
Janvi is a singer-songwriter. You spend half your time in LA and half your time in India.
Yes. Mostly.
She played at Jam. When was that? Thursday? Tuesday?
Someday last week.
Yeah.
It was the 3rd, so it was a Tuesday. Yeah, it was a Tuesday. Yes.
Week just went by.
I have no idea where did it go. I've been in the country for it's my 8th day today, and it feels like I landed yesterday. Just blank.
You were first here about 1 year ago.
That was my question.
I think we met you through Pranav, and I remember when you came here, India had just changed the laws that basically made being queer no longer illegal.
Correct.
So
Yes.
only about a year ago they've kind of
Yeah.
started to get rid of this Stone Age law.
Oh, they're still playing around with it. They're just finding other ways. Just today they released a new trans bill, which takes away most of the rights from transgenders. And it got passed, I think, 2 weeks ago. And today it was legalized. It's a law now. So unless you've actually gone through the surgery, you cannot refer yourself as a transgender. So they do not understand the difference between transgenders and transsexuals. So they're still living in the Stone Age, basically. But they're trying to act. Probably it's also because of the government change. So yeah. But
Is that the in most states in America are like that, but not all of them. Is that also the Scandinavian model to demand a...
No, the American government system is completely different from what it is in India. Both of them are hypothetical democracies, but still the system works differently, because if a law is being passed in the central government, irrespective of the state government, it applies. But it's different in US because state laws are applied first over countries' laws unless it's something more international, as far as I know.
Unless covered in the Constitution.
Yeah.
You got it. Okay.
So what has happened in the last year in India?
I think it's still more towards the privileged societies, like people who are urban and the metropolitan cities, who still have that kind of a background, that they've come more out in the open, accepting who they are. But there hasn't been a change in the mindset of the people. The people who are homophobes, they're still homophobes. It's still not legalized. They do not have rights to get married. They do not have rights to adopt. So the only thing they're doing is they can have sex in their bedroom without anyone else knowing, which they were doing anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of crap when it just
Exactly.
becomes just legalizing the...
Yes.
the
So
sodomy
it was
laws
just
and
giving them, so we are not saying you're legal, but we're also not saying that you're illegal. So it's still bad, morally, but in terms of the law, we won't put you behind bars. That's the only difference that has come around per se.
And it's not marriage rights, visitation
Nothing.
rights, and property rights.
There's still few organizations which are still active and they're working, and they have tried to gain some leverage. They've started incorporating a lot of corporate brands to market these things. Like Levi's recently, the denim brand Levi's, they hosted a campaign in India with people from different sexualities and genders. And that was just around the verdict in an advertisement. Okay, we support the cause, but you go ask them to give money to actually support these people, they won't give that.
Wait, Levi's specifically? I'd
Levi's
heard of
specifically.
pink washing, but I hadn't heard of
No,
stonewash.
they've got those
Pink
pride
washing.
flag t-shirts and merch. They've made those and they're selling those. And I think when it was legalized last year, Vans came out with shoes So they were just white vans with the outer sole with the colors. That's it. So and that's around the world. Like if you go around the Pride, even in US, like Pride Month is celebrated over June,
Right.
June, I guess, yeah, June in US, and that's about it. That's what all the corporate companies do. They just try and sell you on the products. Okay, this is a new line, but none of them are actually coming
To
up
create a brand loyalty that would surpass a normal
That's about
sort
it.
of.
But no one is actually.
But it's not like
helping the
actually
cause.
moving into like political lobbying.
Right, exactly.
It's like a bit like corporate social responsibility.
They're
It's
just
like-
trying
it's
to
kind of like
get away with that. Like
Yeah.
I think the only organization I know per se which has started around the time of legalization it's called Keshasuri Foundation. Like that's the one I'm aware of. And they have recently started hosting trade fairs and job fairs for all these companies to actually come out and hire people from the community. They're giving classes. They're giving acting lessons to people who want to do that. So they're trying to create a community and they're helping them out. And they're like, this started at a very low key basis, but at the same time, they're still only city specific. Like they're still just in the metropolitan cities. And I give them the benefit because they've just started out. It's only been a year. And they're trying to incorporate as many brands and other things to actually employ these people or give them the tools and the education to actually grow. So that's a good thing, but it's still a slow start, and we need more such
It's just
organizations
starting,
to actually strengthen the whole thing.
We should put a link in the description for that.
Yeah, I could share that.
yeah, we can do that.
But yeah, that's the only organization I know by far. Like we don't even have any mental health consultants back home for this. Like very recently now people are coming out, okay, we support this because everything was very hush-hush before this. And now there's a directory which is accessible for people to go reach out. But people are still scared because they do not know if this person is actually trustworthy. You do not know how will this person react. They might just actually come up and say, oh, you're sick because you feel this way. So everyone is still very scared. They're not in their comfort zones. But it's a start.
Is that still like quite common in India to think it's maybe more like a mental illness?
Oh yeah. My mom feels like that.
Yeah.
Forget anyone
Rough.
else.
It's probably the hardest ones to convince, isn't it?
Oh yeah, your parents.
It's very easy to convince because the other people, they're like, okay, till the time it's not affecting me or my immediate family, I don't care about it. So if like a third person knows about it, they will at least pretend to be okay. But when it's in your own family, it's harder because you have seen your child or your sibling or whatever it is a certain way your entire life. You've lived with them and suddenly like, oh, this person is not this.
And it can challenge your preconceptions to realize that your kid is actually a person now.
Yes.
Like
So
someone
just-
who makes their own choices.
Plus, I think it's more even a cultural thing, irrespective of the gender and the sexuality, that you are identified as your family and not as an individual. Like even the parents are addressed as, okay, this person is this person's father or this person is this person's child. So like the identification is such, there is a lot of value in the family name. And once you isolate from that and you hold your individual grounds, you become a rebel. So it's still very difficult for people to perceive them as individuals, rather isolating them from family or religion or which state or city they are from. So I think that is all around the world. I'm not very sure about the family part of it, but I think certain religion and communities still have that thing instilled in them. Especially like I think the Spanish community also has that family thing very rooted in them. So I think even that plays a major role.
And that's also rooted in religion a little bit,
Of
especially
course, that's always there. Like you go to any part of the world,
Spain,
you'll have
Catholic.
religion.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, even here that it's not that it's a lot of people take the a lot of conservative Buddhists that take that.
And
sort
I
of-
think even that's the reason
that
it's not
feeling
even
that it's
legalized
somehow
here.
like a, yeah. It's
Like
very
same-sex
that
marriages
Bangkok
aren't
is very
legalized
famous
in
for
Thailand.
the trans community, and it's
Exactly.
just it's not legal. I mean,
Exactly.
it actually takes
that's-
quite a bit of hoops to go around to get people out of like being drafted.
Right. So yeah, that's what it is.
Description.
How was it growing up in India as a trans person?
Honestly, when you're a kid, you just feel a certain way, and you're okay with it. because no one has put labels to it. So it's fine. And as you grow older, people start questioning because they deal with people as stereotypes, whether you're a male or a female. So if you're a female, you have to behave this way, you have to dress this way, which is like, like my cousin, my nephew for that matter, like that's what he's been taught at the age of 2. Oh, you have short hair, that means you're a boy. Oh, you have long hair, that means you're a girl. The boys do not tie a pony up. I'll show him your picture and he'll say you're a girl just because you have a pony tied. And that's what they're instilling in kids. That's the education. So when you grow up, you start feeling very awkward from the very beginning because you start feeling different. Because people put this, oh, do not pick a pink color thing because pink color is for girls. So they've just grown on those stereotypes throughout your life.
And it exacerbates like once you hit puberty, that like your voice changes. Like,
and there's no education to teach you otherwise. So like, at least for me, I was always very scared to come out as a transgender, even to my closest friends. So I first came out as gay because I was like, I do not know if they will understand this. But over time, like I think I took over a decade just to study this and understand for myself that if I am sure that this is who I am. Because there was no one I could go ask, there was no one who could tell me. So I had to read stories, I had to watch videos, I had to see how other people feel to understand my own emotions. And then when I finally felt, okay, I am very sure and I just don't care about anyone else, that's when I came out. And I think moving to US really helped me in that because the culture is more open there, people are willing to talk. And I think LA, just
and especially
how
California.
California, it's very colorful. So you go and meet people, and like the first thing that happened, I was working with the government there, with LA City, and they asked me, like my immediate boss asked me, he was like, okay, what pronouns do you prefer? I was like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it just started.
Especially in an official aspect, that you can just put it on a form and then like
yes. So it was about that. And then I think once I told my friends, I told my siblings, they supported me. And it's very recent, like I only came out as a transgender 2 years ago, and it's still been a journey after that, like just to get comfortable in my own skin when I'm talking to people and introducing myself as this. Like I did not tell you this last year. You saw the video and you asked me. So I'm still not, because it's still not legal in India, especially with the new law. And I still live under my parents' roof. So I have, like, I'm not denying it, but at the same time, I'm not out in the open. Like, I don't want to be identified because of how I feel. But at the same time, this is my identity. So it's still a gamble there. Like, that's something I'm still figuring out. Like, how I want people to perceive me. Because I just don't want to be a transgender who's a musician. I want to be a musician who identifies as a transgender. So
and you don't necessarily want to be just like a spokesperson, like to have that.
I don't mind that, very honestly, if it helps someone. But we don't have that kind of a platform yet. So again, with that same foundation, I just had a meeting, I think 2 days before I came to Thailand. Like I wanted to propose something and have to go back and have more discussions. Like I don't mind being the face, if that's what it takes. But if that makes me comfortable, but if it jeopardizes my entire career and everything, I will still be scared to do something like that. So yeah.
Sounds pretty nerve-wracking. Has that affected how you, because you've been writing songs like since well before you came out, right?
Yes.
Do you feel that's
I think most of the songs...
how much of it do you feel like has been reflected in your music, like from before that's always been in it, like as and some of it?
So when I like most of the songs I had written before, I write love songs. So like when I was writing a song, I would talk about a female, and people were like, "Oh, why are you writing from a man's perspective?" So I was like, "It's just a perspective. It's a story. I wrote it, so I just got away with that." Now that people know about me, they like, now they kind of get it if they know about me. If they don't know about me, they still, or like, why are you doing that? Like, write this. Why aren't you doing this? And I think at the end of the day, it's all about an individual's perception.
The listener's perspective, like the reader's perspective.
If they see you a certain way, if they hear the song a certain way, that's all they'll care about, how much ever you tell them who you are. So, and that has happened. That happens a lot to me on social media. Like, I'll write a song and it's like, oh, are you single? And I was like, no, I'm taken, or something like that. And they'll be like, is he so and so? And instead of referring to a gender, I just say they, so that it's just neutral. and they'll be like, oh, they, that means you're gay. It's just by default. And it's like, that doesn't mean it's by default. It's like, no, I'm straight, now fight me. What will you do?
And certain languages are a little easier to refer to in the gender neutral. That it's
Exactly.
in English people use it, but people think they don't use it as often.
Yes. And I think that's the need of the hour, and a lot of that has started coming in the Western countries. That gender or all these things, they need to be just neutralized. So you're referring to an individual as a human being, as a certain identity, rather than what body parts they have. Because that's what we are doing by far. We have just segregated them with that, but sexuality and gender has become a spectrum. And instead of learning 10 different words for this person and this person and this person and dividing everyone, it just needs to be neutralized and one needs to be referred to as an individual. That's about it. And I think that will make life easy for everyone because they don't have to think too much. People are too scared how to identify them or how to talk to them, a certain person, because they would look a certain way. And again, all the stereotypes start coming into play when they do that. So I think it will take away the fear of acceptance as well as just make everyone comfortable in the environment they are.
I think there's an interesting point is I think we always like to use, I guess, classifiers for people. You know, like where are they
Exactly.
from? Are they male? Are they female?
Right.
What ethnicity are they? And I think even I do that subconsciously because that's just how people need to fit
train,
within these
exactly.
sort of into
That's
these
just
slots.
boxes, yeah.
Yeah. And it's without thinking, oh, it's just a person. You know, that's a
Though I think for many cis and trans people that having the that gender identity is a strong part of them. I think for cis people it can be it can differ where some cis people just genuinely don't care, and
Exactly.
others are they're
No, I
athletes,
am
they're macho, or they're
Exactly.
beauty queens.
Right. And I think that will also take away, because even for just cis people, those stereotypes create an image which are very damaging to a lot of people in different societies. And if we neutralize it, all of that goes away, all the negative connotations go away, because it's just one standard thing. You can classify them by probably the area they're living in, by the age group they are, because those are standard things. That's not harming anyone. So I think that's still okay. But just identifying them by their religion, by their gender, by their sexuality, it just starts giving perception. And the patriarchy is the same thing. Till date in India, if you're filling a form, you have to identify, when you're filling up the form, they'll ask you either your father's name or your husband's name. Why does someone have to identify to their partner? But they're not asking the men that, okay, what's your wife's name? And the Mr. remains a Mr. Like we were discussing it the other day. A Miss becomes a Mrs. in all cultures after they get married. A Mr. remains the same. Nothing is changing to his identity.
And it's only fairly recent, within the last 40-ish years, that in the Western cultures that
So, and all of these things, they are just creating a negative thing for one part of the gender, that, okay, I have to be the submissive one. And for the other person, they feel more in control, that I can control the other person. Just by these tiny little things, which they don't realize, but
when you
subconsciously
put your name on
works.
it, yeah.
So you have to identify as, because you belong to me. It gives them some sort of ownership towards them. And that is not fair.
Which
So
can
that
facilitate abuse in the worst possible cases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's just these tiny things which need to go away. I think I'm going to need more water.
Yeah. How far are we? I forgot to set out the timer again.
no, about 19 minutes.
Gotta keep that on track. Do we have anything else written down?
I don't know, you didn't give me questions before.
No,
we
wanted more just a, I guess, informal thing, and we haven't I haven't really planned how to do this yet. Whether to, I was thinking should we just cover set topics?
Right.
But then that's
That's again boxing it.
yeah.
Too rigid, too formal.
Yeah. then should I like ask, a few sort of set questions to everyone, or like should it be like should there be only certain things that are like certain topics that are covered and like off-topic things shouldn't be covered? But I guess it's like I don't really see
Ask
what.
me whatever you want, man. I'm cool.
So we haven't. I guess I'm trying to just do it instead of trying to define it and then do it, to just like start it first, and
Yeah, that gives
not
you more
worry
content to
too
work
much.
with. Yeah.
Even though it's going to be like probably a lot of the time where there's not very much happening.
End up going back into small talk. Did you play anywhere else while you were in Bangkok this week?
This week, yes, I played a show yesterday at Cantina. Today, I'm playing at Beer Republic again. Tomorrow,
Beautiful.
I'm playing Decommune, and then I end with the Londoners. I didn't play more shows this time because I was mostly traveling. And I had to do that. Last time I was in Bangkok for 2 weeks straight and did nothing. So this time I wanted to go explore the country. So I think we covered 4 cities apart from Bangkok. So I did Pattaya, Koh Lan, Phuket and Phi Phi. And now I'm in Bangkok and I have to shop. So that's
That's what you do in Bangkok.
Exactly.
The city's
I
perfect
was
for that.
amazed last time. I was like, I love the collection here. I just have to buy clothes and go back home.
The malls are. I guess there isn't like a power ranking of like malls globally. I would imagine that like London and Paris have some pretty good ones. Maybe Singapore and Tokyo in Asia relatively, but I still think Bangkok would be on that top 10 somewhere. Like,
I don't
how
even
many like
care about the malls. The streets have like there's so many like clothes. It just fit. Plus, you just need to know how to match what you're wearing. If you know that, you can pull off anything.
oh, there was like a textile. There was a silk fair just like the other week at Central World. I wish I passed by it. I wish I'd gotten more photos to.
No, like even yesterday I was at Central World and I think they have those like an art fair, like some kind of a fair happening. And then we plan to go to the neon market. Like just right before this I went to the floating market. So I'm just exploring that side. And last year when I came here, Pranav and I had gone to Chinatown. But it was closed. I think it was some public holiday and it was shut, or it was a Monday, I don't remember, because I've heard Chinatown is closed on Mondays. I have to go and
There's
explore.
some stuff, but probably not as much stuff.
Yeah, so that's something I want to explore too, because it's just different, because you find a lot of culturally appropriate and unappropriate things at these places. So it's fun to learn where these people are coming from.
So what are you guys? You guys are going to explore Chinatown while you guys are here?
Yes, that's the plan. Depends upon how much time, because I have to get to Beer Republic at 6:30.
Tight schedule.
Yep.
While you're here, in where are you guys staying? You're heading out tomorrow. Like how do you like the neighborhood?
It was fun. Like last year, I was just living here, so we were mostly close by. But at the end of the day, you just end up in Sukhumvit anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like this time, I'm living right next to a Portica, that place. So it's very lit. Last night was pretty lit in the area. But yeah, it's always very happening. Everything's close by. We're close to the markets. You get all kinds of food, which is still expensive, but it's fun.
Yeah, that area
Yes.
is pretty dense, especially on the weekend.
Yes, it like there's so much traffic. Like yesterday afternoon, I took the cab and it was all blue. I reached in 10 minutes. It's like something's wrong. Where are the people? Like, it's just completely empty. But then it hit 10 p.m. and then things changed.
This weekend is also like the Father's Day weekend. Like the Thai Father's Day is the last king's birthday.
Ah,
So I think
Yeah,
a lot
so
of that's actually a
Thursday.
day off that people have. So people with the
Probably
long weekend,
that's why,
maybe they're going home or they're just
That's
taking
good.
a vacation. Yeah,
there's less traffic on the roads. I'm very happy with that.
and it's been great. It's like been cold for like the first week all year. It's been perfect.
What's Pranav been up to?
Pranav is doing a lot of things lately, which he doesn't talk about more. So this year has been a little weird for all of us. Just figuring out the country's economy is going downhill, and a lot of people don't really want to spend a lot of money to watch shows. Their act, which used to sell tickets, the lead singer had an accident. He has 3 broken bones, so he's recovering. Other artists aren't as big, so they're just figuring out what to do. So he started working on something on the side, which I still am not sure about. I haven't met him in months. I think it's been 3 months I haven't seen him. Like, we still talk almost every day on the phone, but I haven't physically seen him because we are just busy figuring what's happening around us. That's why he didn't even travel with me this time. Plus, my sister was along, so we were fine. Otherwise, it was more of a travel than just the tour. So yeah, that's something he's been up to. The kind of focus is changing for them, and they're still in the middle of doing that. So I guess he's figuring out for now.
There's an adage in LA that show business is recession proof, but that clearly doesn't apply to
I think the
music and
3 different kinds of market in the music industry. One is either you're a performer and you're doing covers. So that's like the gigs I'm playing in Bangkok for now. And you can survive with that. Like, you will make enough money to pay your bills, but that's about it. Because you are entertaining.
It's a job.
It's a job. That's about it. The other thing is you are an actual performer who has a pull, who has a crowd, so you can sell tickets. You're touring around the world with your own crowd. And that's like the niche 1% who's actually able to sell tickets. And
that they get to create a
space for
brand
themselves.
around their own
Exactly.
identities.
And the third kind
their
is the
songs.
session artist,
Right.
who plays on recordings
them.
of these artists
Okay.
or these artists. So for that, you need to be brilliantly good at networking and playing, so that these big artists know who you are and they want to actually work with you. And then of course, again, like, you can have separate sections for all of these. Like, people play in the cruise, people play with army bands, wedding bands, corporate bands. So it's just different kinds of setups and how different ways of making money. Like, even in terms, if you want to still be in the music but you want to diverge more, people are teaching, people are going into the music business, they're managing the licensing, they're producers. So it's just, and everything like can be ultimately segregated into like 2 or 3 different sections.
So most of the gigs you've been playing, they've been mainly cover gigs.
Uh,
Mixed.
In India, as of now, I'm doing a mix of both, like depending upon the pay. So if I'm doing cover gigs, I'm charging more now. And if I'm doing original gigs, I know I'm trying to build a base. So I'm fine with whatever the negotiation is. Thailand, it's still very new. So I think it was Jam and the Commune, the show I'm playing. Those are the only 2 sets I'm playing, like all original songs. Apart from that, I'm playing a mix. Like, even if I'm doing covers, I still play my original songs in between. Like, I just alternate so that people do not know. And they're like, oh, this song sounds like this artist. Like, no, that's mine. So if you enjoyed it, that means you like that kind of a song. But if you just tell them that it's an original song, they'll be like, oh, I don't know this, and they'll start doing something else. So I just try and mix it when I'm doing covers. But when I did the US tour earlier this year, I did all originals, but I played with so far. So now I've reached a point where I do not want to do cover gigs at all. But I'm still relevantly very new in terms of building my audience. So if I just do that and I'm not doing cover gigs, I'm not really making money. So I have to supplement that in some way. But in India as of now, that's why I've been spending more time in India. At the moment, I'm teaching, plus I recently recorded for a movie, a Bollywood movie. So that movie is going to be released next year.
Nice.
And I'm doing some advertisements. So the Go IBO, the app which is there, I did their jingle, and what was the other one I did recently? Oyo. So I think they're competitors, but works for me. I got paid from both.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get some money substituted from that side. That's why I told you I'm going to start that teaching gig once I go back, so that I can stop doing cover gigs unless it's really high paying, and I can focus on building an audience. Because right now, if I'm doing both cover and original gigs, I get very exhausted and it's getting very repetitive. So if I have to do that as a job, then I'll rather do something which is more stable and gives me more money.
And speaking of the workload, is there like a do you have recordings? Do you have a CD? Well,
Oh, yes,
while we're here,
CDs
this would be a
don't-
great place to plug. But
CDs don't work in this day and age anymore.
Right.
But like
an
everything's
album,
on
sorry,
social
an
media.
album. Yeah.
Like I have an album. I had an EP as well, which I recently took down because I felt like it. So I have an 11-song album. It's called Faces of Love. It was released almost 3 years ago, and after that I have released 2 singles. I have a few singles ready and even an EP, but it's again the same thing. How much money I can keep investing into doing something like this before I actually have an audience. So I'm just
And
waiting
that costs
out.
money to get the studio time, right?
Exactly.
And
It
that's
gets very expensive.
that's
Like,
paying money as opposed to getting money back
Yes.
from like
then you have to
it's
do
not like touring where
music
you get paid for
videos.
each gig. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's still it's a vicious circle. You have to constantly keep investing money, and as of now, I've been investing more than what I'm making by doing my own music. So I'm trying to find a substitute so that at least my bills are taken care of. I'm in a comfortable situation, and I'm not doing cover gigs. So all the time when I'm actually performing or making music, I can focus on what I want to do. Because cover gigs are like, oh, it's a Halloween gig, prepare those songs. Oh, it's a Christmas gig.
Themed. Yeah.
So it just becomes like I have to play one gig and I have to prepare a set of like 30 songs. And if you want to be a cover artist, it makes sense because then you've done it, you're ready for the next 5 years and you can just keep adding the new songs which are coming in. But I do not want to be a cover artist. So I'll rather do something which pays me more. If a Halloween gig is paying me like 20,000 baht, I'll play. But no, it won't. That's the thing.
Right.
They'll still give you like, here's 2 grand, play. So it's not. It doesn't. The value doesn't matches the time you're putting in. That's it. But yeah, I have about 13 released songs on all streaming platforms. So Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play, whatever it is. Like it's like if you just type my name, you'll find it. It's easy.
Do you find the is there a big difference like when you sell an album on one of the providers and not the other? That I like we're putting this up on YouTube and we're not expecting to make crap on it now. That any YouTube play you get
Right.
is not even fractions of a penny. Like
Over 5
especially
years,
if you've got like a
I made 50
song
cents.
that yeah exactly.
That's on Spotify.
No, on YouTube because they keep changing their rules. The first 2 years, I was not. I couldn't put ads, and then I was able to put ads.
That, yeah,
for
like
the
you have to have a
part.
certain subscriber amount to be a partner.
That changed last year.
Last
like
year,
earlier,
okay.
it wasn't there, and then they were just checking your account. So then they let you do that, and then there are copyrights if you're doing cover songs. So you have to split, or you don't get paid at all. On original songs, it depends how many views you're getting. So it's still very fresh.
Oh,
in
and that must
market.
be really difficult if you're only getting paid gigs for your covers, but you don't
Exactly.
own the rights to the covers. So that if that's what people like, but you can't put that in a YouTube video to promote yourself in it. That's
So you have to like I have all my cover videos. Like we make a lot of show reels.
Huh.
We only send those to promoters. Like all
Right.
of them are unlisted videos. So if you're sending them to a person who's going to get you the gig, only those people have the links. Like on my YouTube or on any of my social media, I do not put anything related to my cover gigs. So because people start identifying you like that. Like I
right.
started.
You do get pigeonholed. I mean,
Like,
especially
I
if you're
stopped
a
doing that
YouTube. If yeah.
6 to 8 months ago, and like I just took off all the cover videos because people will start sending you requests. Can you sing this song?
This
Or can you
one.
cover
and
this
then
song?
and then you get into a
So-
circle where you're just not like happy.
You're just stuck
You're
there.
satisfying everybody else but yourself
People don't want to listen to your music. They still
because
like
they haven't
you.
heard it yet. Because they haven't heard it.
Oh, you make your own music.
Right.
I didn't know that because they were too busy watching covers. So I just took away like everything from my Instagram, my YouTube, like anything which is related to covers. So I only post original material. So if someone new is coming in, because it's all digital media now. So if anyone who's new, they will know that's all
Searching you by name. This is
This
your
is
music.
it. Exactly. So it's still there, and if there are cover gigs, you don't have to bring in a people. because you're just an entertainment. You're not a musician.
Right.
So it's the venue's job to bring in the people. Because you're just singing there and playing and you need to get paid. So even if there's one person, you still have to sing.
Right.
But if it's an original gig, I can chat. I can have more fun with them. So that's the difference, and that's what I've been playing on with by far. But I'm trying to streamline it further, and hopefully people will listen to my music. It's good. It's not that bad. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. So
I didn't get why so many people like listening to live cover music.
Because they know the song, they can sing along. They're drunk, they want something they can play with. They're still not music listeners. That's why marketing companies pull in so much money. Like there's so many. I went to a music business conference lately in India, and this Indian record label, they were like, do all the covers you want to do of the artists which are signed with us. We will promote it. So whatever you record, just send it to us, but we'll make 80% of that video. And you make 20% because you are using the song we own. Like, do whatever you want to. But
So
we
they
make the
get a
money off you.
win-win. They get a win-win, basically.
Exactly.
That they
And
get
the
the
people-
word out and they get the lion's share of the...
Musicians are still dumb enough to do that. They're like, oh, we're going to get a reach from there because they have millions of people subscribe to their channel. But they do not understand there would be only a % of it which will come to your channel to hear that one song. That's about it. So,
And they'll know you for the one song that's not even
Exactly.
yours.
yes. And if you play another, like last night I was playing with this gig, like the Cantina gig I was playing, there was this female, she was singing along. I was doing a song by Coldplay. And I just slightly changed one line because I was trying to do something fun for me. I was just doing whatever I was doing. And she suddenly was like, this doesn't happen in the song. So, like her face is like,
That even in the
sound-
cover that
Exactly.
it has to
you
be.
can't even
you have
cover
to do
the
the
cover
same
your way. Exactly.
chords as
They
the same.
want you to sound exactly like them, but they don't want to pay for it.
That's really rough.
Being a musician is tough. Please do it only if you're rich. Disclaimer.
How was it in LA? Did being any
It's
closer
the
to
same.
like a recording capital? It didn't.
It's all the
that
same.
if you had more.
So even- It labels work differently about even a decade ago. I think the last was 20 years ago. Like once the 2000s started, the label game completely changed because of all the streaming platforms. And now even the labels want to invest into people who actually have an audience. Because if they're not able to pull an audience, it's a loss for them. So they're only picking up artists who have already somewhat
already have a
established.
head start on it.
Exactly.
So
And they can plug
they
in
think
more
it's
money
safe. It's not
so
like
that
you can just like send in your audition
Exactly.
tape and then hope it becomes like a
Plus,
single that it gets played on the radio. Or
I recently read another interview as well. It was like earlier, most of the label owners, they were businessmen who wanted to take a risk. Like a new guy, different music, they look different, so like throw in the money, let's see where it takes. Now they have this calculated math. Okay, this is happening, so they want to just go with a similar thing. Oh, you're not doing this. Your
an
music
expected
is so bad.
return on investment, like based
It's
on
all about
something that they-
numbers. Like whether you go to a sponsor, whether you're going to a label, whether you're going to a publisher, either they want you to do what they tell you to do, or if you want to do what you want to do, you have to already create your base. So if you want to approach a label, if you want to have a manager, you want anything in terms of actually building your own team to be able to do things, you need to have enough base already to be able to pay them. So you have to start your own company basically till the time they want to buy you out. So it has become a corporation basically. So you build everything as an entrepreneur, and when they see okay it has enough value, it's picking up, a label will come in
and
and
you
like,
make your startup and then like hope to get bought up by a whale.
Exactly.
That you're the minnow.
I think that's what it has come down.
Which is it seemed like antithetical to the idea of art, but now that I think about it, like it's very like it's like LA and it's New York and it's
the
like all
same
if any
anywhere.
of these
Like that's what
like,
I wanted to
culture
test.
capitals.
I wanted to test different countries for the same reason, and LA is like that. Like it's the same setup everywhere. Either you have your audience, or you're doing cover gigs, or you're doing recordings, and depending upon the country, it depends upon the kind of music you're doing.
The genre, and if you're in
Exactly.
Bombay, that if you're in Mumbai,
Yes, so you're
then
doing
it's-
more Bollywood. You won't
Right.
find gigs like you would barely find any wind instruments or string instruments in India. There'll be very few people. It's still not taught per se. You have to very selectively go find a teacher because those instruments are expensive. The lessons are expensive. So people, they're not handy. But if you go to LA, the person next door will be playing a saxophone. Like it's very common there because they start doing this from
they're more schools, and if you get
Yes.
if you separate yourself, then you can also kind of get like put into
because
like a jazz
yes.
school or a music school, but there's still lots of instruments that you're just
But the
never
recording
gonna see
industry,
outside, like
in
it's
terms of like Bollywood industry,
guitar, bass,
in
drums,
terms of the
and
music
keyboard.
people make in Bollywood, the instruments used, the kind of music you're doing, they're still different than what the kind of music and the scores which are being done in Hollywood. So when you're doing all those movie scores, they need string players.
True, that you need like
So
an orchestral arrangement.
It's still the marketing, and they need those musicians. And the orchestras are still being played. So when you go to Europe, you will still see a lot of venues and amphitheaters which host classical gigs, where an actual orchestra is playing. And like I know a few venues, even in UK, I was recently researching. They only let you play when you're in that kind of environment. So if you're just a singer-songwriter or a pop musician, you can't go there and perform. It's more of
so
sitting
that
down. It's
even
more royal.
if you're gonna play at that venue, even if you are like a singer-songwriter, that you need to hook yourself up with and partner with and
Yes.
a
So
traveling
you
orchestra.
either like Snarky
A touring
Puppy
orchestra,
does that
yeah.
a lot. They collaborate with orchestras and they play, but that's the kind of music they're doing. They're doing a lot of fusion and jazz itself. So it's everything has again been segregated into very small markets. So making it big is very hard right now because there is still a major amount of audience which listens to pop, but pop is basically what is being fed to you on the radio stations, which is bought by all these people who have the money. So if you're independent and you're solo, you have to find music listeners, or your music needs to be very catchy and very simple or basic, which people immediately
Mindless.
relate to. And then I think 90% of it is still luck. Because you just find something or something gets organically hit, and that's how you make it. Because once you start putting in money in your own self on these social media platforms, they are the algorithms work in such a way they'll always ask you to put money because they'll completely stop your reach. So you won't.
They can't abide a limit in that sense. That
Yes.
if you want the eyes, the views, the clicks, or
So like
the
if
listens.
you really know how to use that, like you really
Right.
know who your audience is, that's when I think someone should actually pay for these advertisements, because it's just a way of reaching those new people. People are not coming out; they want to sit behind the screens and watch. So if you really know who to reach and then you invest money, then it's a safe bet because you know that's when you're to reach. But it's still broad, then you're stuck. Because it will reach anyone and everyone, and you do not know that they'll listen to it. And that culture of listening to random things is coming again by all these playlists which are being curated by the streaming platforms. So they have taken away that control as well from listeners. Because we used to initially go on YouTube and randomly click on songs and I like this artist and start listening to it. But now the culture is more of just clicking on a playlist, leaving the cell phone on the side and doing their thing. So you won't even remember the song unless you're a vivid listener and you're like, I want to know this song.
That autoplay is just to the next one, and even on these, I'm way behind the curve again. That I just downloaded Spotify like a month ago, and I didn't realize these the
Curated playlist.
the playlists that are listed radio that these aren't. I don't know the difference between what's algorithmically
Yes.
created and how much of it
Yes.
is like a DJ, but also just the DJ is paying and being paid.
Right. But that's what, like, a lot of streaming platforms are now trying to get into management. Because they know that's how the artist is going to make money, because everyone is using these playlists. So if they have the control, they just put their artist song in different playlists. and that's how they get the numbers. Once they have the numbers, people know, okay, this is a song. They can start marketing them because everything boils down to those numbers. Oh, this artist has so many listens on this song, so they'll market it on the social media, plug more money. So it just brings up the curiosity in the person. It's the same thing like I was in Fifi. There were 4 different parties happening on the beach. No people, lots of people. What's happening there? So
And then-
you're
and then you
automatically attracted to that. And why
Just that
numbers?
there are more people there.
Exactly.
Right.
Why are there so many people there and there's only 5 people here?
And it could be there could be a real draw there, or it could just be random chance that it
Yes,
built on.
yeah. Maybe they were just selling cheap alcohol and people are standing there. So it's just it's a numbers game. It's numbers and marketing. How much money you have and how much money you can plug in.
And to me it's interesting because it seems so fickle now that Spotify is the number one platform now, where it changes so quickly.
Apple is still one.
Still iTunes still one?
iTunes
Okay,
is still
okay.
one. Like I think they still own about 40% of the market share.
That's interesting because I thought
For streaming as well.
Streaming.
Yeah.
because they're trying to they're winding down one thing and releasing another. That the actual
I think
iTunes
the
program
difference
they're
with-
not into as much selling the hardware.
Number one,
as
they're
much
priced
now.
lower than the
Right.
other streaming platforms. They are really upping their game in terms of playlist aggregations. And third, it's just the loyalty. Because people have been using it from like 2000, early
Right.
2000s. So they're very comfortable with that and they've just learned something new. So if someone uses Apple Music, they would not be comfortable with the other interface. It's same like, I use an Apple phone, I use an Android phone. Because at the end of the day, it's just the interface. And they are competing. Plus the other thing with Spotify is they aren't really paying the
Artists.
So artists are like, there's a separate gang which is still plugging into Spotify because they want the views. There are others who are backing up because they know they're not getting paid. So, and those are the people who are educated musicians. Because other musicians, they would never care. They will never open their stats and see how much they're getting paid for it. And why are they getting paid so less?
Right.
They won't see the distribution. Because if you're going to a distributor, they will put your music on like over 150 streaming platforms. So you do not know how much money is coming from where unless you actually sit down and keep a track of it. So most musicians are still ignorant and they will be like this rap thing, my 2019 rap, like I've got these many musicians, these are my top tracks, these are my top artists, and the artists are posting, okay, I've got so many views. That's a marketing technique just for Spotify.
Right.
And these people don't get it. So they're just putting it out anyway. They're getting free marketing from like over 1 billion people around the world.
And it comes down to the dollar.
Yeah.
That it's. And have you ever done any radio shows recently? Like actual over the air?
Yes, I did. There's this radio. We do not have a lot of radio channels which play English music in India, so there's one. That's it. So I think I've played with them at least twice.
There's only one radio station here that plays.
There used to be 2, 94.3, like that's
But
the
the-
frequency.
Is
And
India was like the biggest English-speaking population in the world, isn't it?
no, we just want to overtake the world because everyone knows English. That's why we all learn English. No, it's just a language because we were colonized by Britishers and it has just been a trend to learn English.
And since World War II, it's not British hegemony; it's American hegemony. So, but it's
Exactly.
like
Plus, the other thing is, the second
The
you want to
language of
cross even a
commerce.
city border, we have a lot of languages. So, if you meet someone from north part of India and from south part of India, they'll still be communicating in English because we don't get each other's languages, the Indian languages we speak in. So, it helps us unify us as a country. Plus, it helps us go out to other
it's a
countries.
convenient lingua franca.
It's a
yeah.
convenient front because if we're coming to Thailand and we do not know Thai, there would still be people who know English. We go to US, it's an English speaking country. We go to Europe, it's an English speaking country. Australia, New Zealand. So it's most of the countries still speak English, and it's easier, especially for the countries Indian population is going to. That's another reason we are taught English even till date. and it becomes our first language with our regional language. But I forgot what I was saying before this.
Radio, the radio.
Radio, yes. So in the north area, we had two stations, two frequencies, but one of them realized they're going in a loss, so they have switched to playing Hindi music and probably other languages in other areas. So there's just one channel I remember playing with them twice for sure, but I think I've played more than that. I just don't remember. And the same channel's counterpart in another city also wanted to host me, but the dates didn't work out because I was traveling on separate days. They wanted me to come on a separate day. But yeah, that's what I've done in India because that's all we have. They can't keep repeating the artist like every week or every month, so they put like a 3-4 month gap and call me back again. But they still don't play indie music. Like they'll just ask you to come live, sing, play you between different songs for like 20-25 minutes. That's about it. So
But
you
just
have
while
to
you're
play 3
on,
songs.
they don't. You don't have any
So
lingering.
you can't ask them like, here's my song, can you just start putting it on the radio? That's still not there until unless you become famous. And even the indie artist which is famous, I don't think so. Even his music, at least, yeah, I haven't heard him on the radio, very honestly.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It also seems like a very simplistic way of marketing. If you're just taking listeners and just taking in like how many people hear it as opposed to how many people will like have a message that resonates. You know,
It's also about the competition because even in a particular hour, there are only so many songs they can play because other space is bought by advertisements. So they're getting paid by it and that's how the channel is running. So with the number of songs they're playing, so for example in 60 minutes they are playing 10 songs, let's say. Those 10 songs need to be popular enough to get the traction because if they are playing something indie and the other channel is playing something the audience knows, the audience will automatically change the frequency. So even they need audience retention, so they play what the audience wants. So ultimately, just everything boils down to what kind of attraction do you have, the organic attraction from people. Once you start getting that, all the other channels start plugging you in and help you increase your numbers. But for the beginning, you have to either have a lot of money or you need your own audience. Because either like you're releasing one song and you're spending like 5 lakh, I do not know what kind of number system you use here, but in Indian currency, I know there's an artist, he put in 50 lakhs, which is like $500,000 in one song, just to plug it in and help all the social media platforms, radio stations,
promote
YouTube,
it.
just so that he's on the top of the page and people go click. So they just try to be in your face.
But right, that's what I'm saying. That it's it still seems like a bit basic in the like from the radio side of it.
Yes.
That they're trying to get advertisers on
Yeah.
like advertisers to pay them, but like when they're convincing their advertisers to pay for a spot, it seems like when you're saying that, well, we have this many listeners and this is
Right.
who it'll go out to.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that the like it depends on like what the advertiser is actually advertising, whether or not anybody will actually go
no
out
one
and
cares, very honestly.
Get
There's
it,
shitty
it's-
advertisements on radio,
right.
which are not even relevant. You're talking about something which needs to be visual and it's being played on air. Well, a lot of people don't have that sense to distinguish where to place their ads. So it just depends upon the entity, and for radios it's mostly about just making that money. Because they have like a crew, they have so much equipment, they have recording equipment, they have to pay their bills. Plus they want to make money. So they don't care to promote a certain cause or something unless it's like the hot topic. Because they know even that will get them attraction. So everything for any industry boils down to numbers. So they're going to just plug what is going to give them those numbers.
Just statistics. Well, like I
Yeah.
think an anecdote I'd have would be like for sports radio. I watch a lot of sports. Like when you listen to sports radio, a lot of the ads try to tie it into what you're listening to. Oh, we're the official sponsors of this team. But like, what does insurance have to do with
Exactly.
with sports? Sometimes it can be, well, we're health insurance, and
Right.
this is American, so we're health insurance, and we cover the players, and the players need to stay healthy, and we'll help you stay healthy too. Athletes trust us, and
Right.
that's their livelihood,
Yeah.
so they'll trust. So trust us with that. Or an easier one is this beer. Like, you're watching the game, right? Won't you kick back with a beer? But it's
That's
like,
smart advertising, and not
Right.
everyone does that.
right. And there's a reggae band I really like that they've got a sponsorship deal with Rolling Papers, which I think is just perfect. But yeah, that it's not necessarily.
It's like, I know there is a tobacco company which is sponsoring a music event. Not
Can
related.
tobacco sponsor
Oh, in
stuff
India, yeah. That's
Alcohol
the-
companies cannot in
Interesting.
places where people, like, they're underage people.
Hmm.
So, and plus if they're family events, so alcohol companies cannot sponsor an event in that situation. But if they're playing in a bar setup, then they can sell alcohol. So then that's the place where you can get an alcohol sponsorship.
That's interesting. In
Yeah.
Thailand, it's supposed to be difficult for alcohol companies to advertise, but they get around that just by selling water, by selling
Yeah.
soda water.
And that's what happens in all the sport games as well. Like there's this Indian beer called Bira, and they've started coming into Thailand as well over the last 2 years. But they sponsored the Cricket World Cup, like they were one of the sponsors. But in those World Cups, you cannot have a sponsor which is alcohol or tobacco or any of those. So they just created a ketchup or some kind of a sauce, so that the label is there. I was like,
The label's exactly the same, so that it's the same company.
So they just
they're taking a loss.
yeah, they just made the same bottle
They're
as
taking
their
a
beer
loss
bottle,
on
but
this
they just showed a
weird
sauce.
ancillary product just so they can
Exactly.
promote.
Yeah, here it's more often soda and mineral water.
Yeah, I saw like Singha is the beer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have water bottle. Like you go to 7-Eleven, like this. I was like, oh, yes. But like that's how they get away.
It was pretty recently, like I think not until the 90s, where there was a ban in America on tobacco sponsorships, that you look at like photos of stadiums and stuff that you still see Marlboro and Camel and Philip Morris like right there on the
Right.
big jumbotrons. It's interesting which companies can get around that and which
Yeah.
others just kind of end up taking the loss. I mean, like tobacco has its own sort of brand loyalty.
But that's the
That
thing, because there's
it's
already
on-
a brand loyalty. So
Right.
if someone already knows, like they won't even read what the other product is. They'll just see the
Right.
logo and associate it to that product.
That it's not like phones where
Yes.
someone's always
Exactly.
unhappy with the service, so
Yeah.
that they'll switch. Like,
And if there's a new company and they just randomly type that brand online, they'll see what they actually sell. So
Right.
if you type Bira, like if I go with the same thing, you'll just see that alcohol. You won't
Yeah.
see ketchup there.
The ketchup bottle looks like a beer
It
bottle.
looks exactly like the beer bottle. I think it was some kind of sauce or something they were selling. Like, it looks like a beer bottle. It says something else, but it's Bira, so it should be alcohol. I do not understand this.
yeah, put it on your bratwurst. That is like your beer
But
battered.
I think it's still either like the most of the car companies in bigger events, or it's like especially with the sports events, it's usually the sports merch. So Adidas, Nike, Reebok,
Right.
these are the companies. So they're still more associated, and then we still do not have that for music. We do not have sponsors which can be relevant to music apart from alcohol, because people want to come to these events and get drunk.
right.
So you cannot ask a car company at a sports event, oh come, these people cannot pay $20 for a show ticket, but they'll buy a $2,000 car. So it's like getting sponsors in that context is still very difficult.
Interesting. So Dre was pretty clever that like having something for, like, if you can sell headphones, then you can just like plug it
again,
in at any.
And I think DJs can do that. Like if you're thinking from a marketing perspective, a DJ is using the headphones, or they're using certain kinds of speakers. So if he has a sponsorship
Oh, Gibson,
and
right?
endorsement,
Yeah.
like musicians usually have endorsements, so they get free guitars because that's the guitar they're playing. But getting a sponsorship, even if you're like at the starting level or in the middle level somewhere, to get a sponsor to invest in your gigs, it's very hard. Because all of these other companies, they just care about numbers again.
Right.
So either they have a very big outreach which involves people from all kinds of economic stratas and they can afford their product, or it needs to be directly relevant. And finding a company which is directly relevant is very hard to sponsor you, especially if you're a musician. And most of the companies have gotten their way around. Instead of putting in money, they give you their product at a discounted price. Like initially they used to still give it for free. Now they do not give it to you for free. Like, okay, if you use our product for our shows and you promote us, we'll give it to you for a discounted price.
Which is worse than like what a reviewer would get, and they'd say like a neutral thing that they wouldn't necessarily even promote like the item.
Just to get that endorsement, a lot of musicians even bend. Like, I love using my tailor, but a tailor won't give me a sponsorship right now. They'll only give me an endorsement till when even I have enough numbers to show them, okay, these are the number of shows I'm playing. This is my pull. Use this guitar. But if I start using another guitar, which they are giving it to me right now just because of what I'm doing, and I don't like that guitar and I'm just doing it because I got it for free, I won't get the sound I want.
Right.
So it's again a vicious circle. Do you want to present yourself as someone who has the endorsements, or you want to become a quality product and then go to the companies and ask for an endorsement or a sponsorship? So everything boils down to the same thing: the numbers, the pull you have, the reach, the age group. So we have to make your stats. Okay, this is my age group. This is the regions it's relevant in. So I think this is the brand which would be relevant to it. So if my audience is 18 to 35, I cannot get a country club because these people cannot afford their membership. So again, it's just studying the market, studying your audience, and correlating all of these angles.
Is there another sort of like model you can envision for getting like your music out there as an artist?
I think as of now, the only thing one can do, what I see from the prevalent market or whatever I have studied over the last 2-3 years, it's playing house shows.
Huh. But that's just the popular genre right now? Or
yeah, like especially for the kind of music I'm doing at the least. Because
that is
people
close enough.
are
Okay.
quiet. They're listening to the music. They're actually paying attention.
Hmm.
So if they like your music, they'll retain it. They'll buy. They will actually become your audience. Like that's what I did with US. I did So Far Sounds. But again, So Far Sounds has become a brand in itself. So people come and listen, but for them it's again just an experience. So it will, if there are like say 100 people, there'll only be 10 listeners who will go back and listen, and maybe you're able to retain 2 or 3 out of them. So the numbers are still aren't very huge. And you're not getting paid in that kind of a setup. Like a So Far Sound gig at the moment pays you $100 for your performance, irrespective of the number of artists you are. So for me, it still works out fine because I'm a solo musician. If I'm playing for $100, it's still okay because I have to play for 20 minutes.
Oh gosh, if it's a band, if they only give you $100 for like a band, like I'm pretty
They
sure that's
do
why
that.
all the ska bands ended up breaking up. I'm sure they had a ton of fun playing, but you can't pay for 6 pieces. And
people do that. There's still musicians who come out with bands because they think they can get that kind of an audience. But at the present moment, I think it's just about, like, at least everything I have tried by far, I have come to a point I need to do more research in terms of the people who would listen to the kind of music I perform or I write, and make money otherwise, so that I can put that money in social media to reach to these people. Because I've tried putting videos organically, I spent shit loads of money on making that one song and that video. That's the most expensive thing I've done by far. And I have 18 or 1900 views on it organically. That's about it. And I spent the entire year making that video and not doing anything else. So the returns are nowhere close.
speaking of, a reminder to plug that in the description.
Please put that video link. Hopefully someone will see it. I think that was the day, I think a month after I posted that video, and I did not see anything happening. Because that is one song, that was the first song I played, Come Home. And the song we recorded last time when I was here, in the gallery upstairs. And I played it for my teachers.
Yeah,
when I
it's
was
really
going to
rough
music
that
school.
when you're self-publishing, that slow start.
Yes, because that was one song that everyone who heard that gave me confidence. Because I played it for my teachers and they were like, that's your song. like here is the number of a music publisher. They'll be able to put it in this
You're real.
TV series.
You're real. Like,
Reach
keep
out.
at it. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, this, and the people who have heard the song, oh, this song will do great. This song will definitely do great. I played it for 6 fucking years before I actually made a music video out of it. 1,800 views in 5 months. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I was like, I'm not putting a single more penny into this. So it's like, I'm not going to make more recordings, no more videos until I actually start seeing a return. Because I'm just putting in so much. Everything I'm making is going into this. And I'm not getting a return. So till the time I'm either able to break this cycle or being able to find another model, I've put this on pause and I'm just finding other ways to sustain myself for the time being.
And I wonder if that it's not just tastes coming in and out of style. That like if you've got if you're playing music that's digital, that when you're publishing, that when you put something out, that it's
Yeah. Because like if you listen to the songs I have, like in terms of the production value, in terms of the recording quality, it's top notch.
Right.
Like you'll play anything by a pop
but it
artist,
takes so
it'll be
much
same.
time to get that quality. Where
Yes.
if you're
And-
if you're mixing something
At home, like if you're doing
Right,
something,
yeah.
it's easier for DJs.
right,
But the songs
that's
I have,
yeah.
like in this song, initially it was like when I play it live, I'm just playing it with the guitar and I'm singing.
Right.
It's a very small production, but I wanted to actually make it a song.
Right.
So I hired an entire string section, and I couldn't find string players in India. So when I went on my US tour, I recorded the entire thing there. So I wasn't paying them in the currency I was earning.
Ouch.
I
Right.
had to pay them 70 times more because that's the exchange rate. So I paid the entire string section. I hired the producer there. I hired the studio there and recorded everything. I shot the video in India so that it's real. But I put in a lot of money into that as well. So it's just like overall to create that kind of a product, it becomes very hard if you're not getting the reach or you don't have the reach. But I had hoped for creating this product and getting a reach, because that's what they say, put out a good product. But that is not it in today's day and age, because you need someone to come. And because I'm not regular, so creating something like this takes a hell lot of time. It's not just writing a song, recording in your bedroom and putting it out. So if you're making this product, I started visioning this last year in November, December. January we started contemplating the entire thing. The video I wanted initially, that plan fell through. I had to hire a different team, plan a different chain altogether. Recorded the song thrice in India. I wasn't happy with the audio, so I went to LA and recorded it. Came back, planned everything, then finally released it in July. The initial release was planned in March. So it was delayed by over 6 months, and like 2/3 of the year was spent just making that video and nothing else. So yeah, I didn't even tour India this year. And then when you do not get the kind of returns you're expecting, even after making a quality product,
That's gotta be
of
heartbreaking.
something
That's
which
not
like I haven't
done.
had a single person comment negatively on the song. Then I was like, I'm done. I was literally like, I'm done.
We're a shift. Where are you flying out to?
Next,
Yeah.
I am flying out on Wednesday back to India. I start a teaching job just the next day and I have to report at 7:30 a.m. in Indian winters. I have no idea how I'm going to do that because I haven't woken up at that hour ever since I graduated school. So that's been what, 3 years now? 3.5 years. So it's going to be fun.
pretty early.
What are you teaching?
I'm starting to teach as a music teacher in a private school. Like it's an actual school where I'm going to be the music instructor. But primarily I'll be teaching primary kids, so focusing more on music theory and guitar. But I've been teaching for like 8 years now.
Does the primary school? It's not attached to a university or anything, because it's a rough situation all around. But that'd be the bonus, that if you've got access to university materials, that usually means they've
No,
also
it's
got a
just a-
studio there. That
No,
they
no,
can,
no. It's just a school. Indian schools like don't have music
Right.
education like we do in other countries. So they still want you to come and prepare for Independence Day and for other
Right.
festivals and just morning assemblies and go home. So it took me a while to find a school which has a music department. So at least they say so. I haven't seen any of the students play or anything, and they usually have expats from other countries come and teach in there. So
so does that mean? Oh, sorry.
like once I go there, I'll see like what kind of a department they actually have because they want me to train them according to the UK standard of education, so that the students are educated enough to give great examinations. But they do not have a studio facility. I do not know if they have like instruments for the kids to come in and actually practice, because I only get like 40 minutes to an hour a week with one batch of kids. So this is something very new for me. I haven't ever taught in a school. I have mostly done private classes, and even if I've done a group, I have done like
Yeah,
15
tutoring
to
is a whole
20
different
kids
animal.
at a time.
Yeah.
But even with those were just fun activities, and
Right.
I had to teach them for like 4 weeks or 5 weeks. That's about it. But teaching them for an entire year with set goals, that's what they need to get to. It's something challenging for me as well.
So they're expecting you to create the curriculum as well.
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah. But I have established curriculums already. I'll have to alter them according to the timeline.
Okay.
So I want to see where the students are and accordingly tell them the realistic goals. If they're okay with it, then good enough. If not, I'll just say okay, bye. Because I'm tired of I've never actually taught anyone just for the sake of it. I only teach
Right.
people who actually want to learn music.
Right.
That way, I think you enjoy teaching more. It's the same thing as playing cover gigs and original gigs. Like if you have to correlate.
Final question. If you were the dictator of the whole world, what is the first rule you would pass?
First rule that I will pass:
Anything. You're the absolute number one dictator.
burn all the political leaders and religious leaders, put them in a room and burn them alive.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Decisive.
And then kill all the abusers and violent people. Like that's step 2. And then live in a peaceful world. I just kill all of them. I'll be the
So we kill lots of people, we'll have peace. Yeah,
Basically.
that generally works.
Oh come on! Haven't you seen The Walking Dead? That's their entire goal.
Cool. Thanks a lot for
Thank you.
joining us today,
It's the
Janvi.
people. The people are the
Yeah.
Walking Dead. Sorry.
They kill other people while they're trying to kill the Walking Dead.
Yeah. No, that's the